Hello everyone. So today we are going through the sine and cosine rules. So first off, what are the sine and cosine rules? So for the sine rule, we will focus on this first. Sine rule is such that sine, well, is technically 2, right? So sine A over A is equal to sine B over B is equal to sine C over C. Now, what does this mean? This means that if we have any triangle, right, with any sides, 3 sides, so it could be equilateral, could be any kind of triangle, isosceles, whatever, right, we can use this formula to figure out any missing angles. So it's A, B, B, C, C, right? So essentially what this is saying is that the ratio of the angle related to the sides, the sine of the angle over the length of the side opposite is equal to the sine of an angle to the opposite of any others, right? So sine A over A is equal to the same as sine C over C. That's exactly what this equation is saying. Sine A over A is equal to sine B over B, and sine B over B is equal to sine C over C. And we can use this identity to be able to find any missing angle. This is also true for sides, so it also holds true that A over sine A is equal to B over sine B and is equal to C, that's a very interesting C over sine C. So that also holds true, right? So we can use this one to find any missing sides. Now, the best way to demonstrate this is through an example. Let's just put this in the box just to highlight. Great. Okay, so first of all, let's go through an example. So let's say we have a triangle here. One triangle. And let's say with this triangle, we have one side is 12 centimeters and another side is 6 centimeters. This angle is 30 degrees. And we don't know what this angle is, so let's call it X. And we don't know what this side is, we call it Y. So first of all, let's find the angle X. So with angle X, we can look at this and say, okay, what do we have to find the angle X? So we have one angle, we have two sides, and we have an unknown X. And this side is opposite the unknown X. And we have the known angle with the known side, so we can use the first version of this formula. So we'll have sine 30 over 6 is equal to sine of X over 12. So now what we want to do is rearrange. So times by 12. So we get 12 sine 30 over 6 is equal to sine x. Now we can simplify that. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So we've got 2 times sine 30. So let's rewrite down. Let's figure out what sine 30 is. Sine 30 is half. So if you use a calculator, sine 30 is half, or if you remember it off by heart, that'd be great. So sine 30 is half, and that's equal to sine x. So 1 is equal to sine x. So now we want to find what x is, so we need to use the inverse. So sine inverse 1 is equal to x, and I'm just going to write x on this side just to make it nice looking left to right. And the inverse of sine 1 is 90. So 90 degrees. Make sure your calculator is in degrees and not radians. So unless you're being asked to do it in radians. But to follow through here, it needs to be in degrees. So x is 90 degrees. So this is 90 degrees. The triangle is not drawn to scale, so don't worry about the fact that it does not look like 90 degrees. It's not drawn to scale. So we find that angle. So now we want to find what y is. That's our next goal. So we can figure out what this angle is because we know two angles in the triangle. So 30 plus 90 is 120. Let me just do this down here. 30 plus 90 is equal to 120, and 180 is the total in a triangle, minus 120 is equal to 60. Right? So this angle here is 60. Great. Now we know that, we can figure out the sides. Now we will use this second formula here. So because you already know quite a few sides, you can choose any. I am going to choose the 12 and the 90. So 12 over sine 90 is equal to y over sine 60. So again, we can rearrange. We already know that sine 90 is equal to 1 based on what we just did earlier with this calculation here. So that means we can do sine, so we can do 12 is equal to y over sine 60. So then we got 12 times by so we got 12 times by sine 60 is equal to y. So then 12 sine 60 is root 3 over 2. So I'm just going to break it down. You could probably go straight for the calculation, but I'm just going to do it broken down. So 12 times root 3 over 2 is equal to y. And let's put the y on the left side. So that gives 6 root 3. So y is 6 root 3 centimeters. We can do this, let's do this to 3 significant figures. So to 3 significant figures, that is 12, 60 is 10.4. So this is 10.4 centimeters. Great. So that's how you would use all of the sine rule. So now going on to the cosine rule. right? So the cosine rule is, so let's just make it clear, it's cosine. So the cosine rule is a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. So again, in a triangle format, this will look something like this. So you got angle A, opposite side A, angle B, opposite side B, and angle C, opposite side C. Right? So let's go through an example. We got one side, another side, another side. So let's say this is in meters, 6 meters. 6 meters on this side, 9 on this side. And this angle is 45 degrees. Again, it's not drawn to scale, so don't worry about scale. And we have an unknown, let's call it Z. Okay, so let's do our calculations. So we want to find Z, right? So we're going to label Z as our A, a small a. We're going to label this as our big A. It doesn't really matter which one's B or C, so we're going to call this one B, and we're going to call this one C. So we're going to just plug in the formula. So A is Z, so let's make that Z squared is equal to B squared, 6 squared, plus C squared, which is 9 squared, minus 2. I'm going to use the small dot multiplication sign. So 2 times 2 times 6 times 9 times by cos of 45. So 6 squared is 36, 9 squared is 81, 2 times 6 is 30, is 12, times 9 is 108, so 108, and cos 45 is root 2 over 2, so 108 times root 2 over 2. So 36 plus 81 is 117, and 108 divided by 2 is 54, so 117 minus 54 root 2. And going straight to the solution, plug it into a calculator. 117 minus 54 root 2 is 40.6324673. So because this is square root, I'm actually not going to simplify just yet. So what I'll do is I'll square root the answer. Square root of 117 minus 54 root 2. So instead of just writing the answer, I'm going to square root it. So that gives let's say 3 significant figures, 6.3 3.7. So Z is equal to 6.37 meters. And that is the cosine rule. So thank you for listening, and do let me know what you want me to cover next. Thank you.